Hello everyone, it's Kelly Cooper and welcome to another Facebook Live video. Today I want to be talking about, is your knowing translating to doing? And by doing, I don't mean are you taking actions to get your stuff and trying to make stuff happen. By doing, I mean, is all this wisdom you're learning about the law of attraction and all these other universal laws, all this spiritual personal growth nuggets, all of this wonderful stuff that can make our lives better, are you doing anything with this information? Are these perspectives, these beliefs, these ways of looking at the world and looking at yourself, are they informing your choices, your habits, your behaviors, how you go about achieving your goals, how you get up and show up in the world every day, how you move through life on a day-to-day basis? Because while it sounds obvious that eventually this information is going to again inform your life and how you live your life in some way predominantly, a lot of us are missing the boat on this. We're not doing anything any differently. We're just taking in all of this information. We're not doing anything with it. We're not changing in any way. We're not any different. You know, a lot of people wonder how to tell if their energy is changing. How could I tell if my vibration is raising or whatever? How could I tell if I'm making these energetic transformations? Your life is your beliefs manifest, your inner world manifest. Everything human you does every day, again, the space you're making your choices from, what drives your habits, your behaviors, how you move through the world, how you relate to other people, how you respond to challenging circumstances in your life, the things that your mind wants to label a problem, that's coming from in here. Something's informing all of that. Something is motivating, influencing all of that. So what are you being? What are you doing? Is how you're living your life, how you're responding to the things in your life, the space you're making your choices from and all that again. What energy is influencing that? Are you acting more from trust and faith now, or are you still being motivated primarily by fear? You know, things like this. That's how to tell if your energy is changing. That's how you could tell if you're moving towards these new energies, if you're moving towards this person that you say you want to become. How you live your life every day, that's it. That's how you know. And a lot of us, if we look at it from that perspective, it becomes clear pretty much immediately almost that we're not doing. And again, by doing, I don't mean taking action to get your stuff and setting goals and all that. I mean doing as in how you live your life every day, like the space from which you're acting. What's informing all that human you is doing, and all these beliefs and all these things that you know and you're probably becoming an expert on, like the law of attraction and conscious creation in particular, like all that stuff. Are you acting from those sorts of beliefs? And is that the space you're acting from? Or again, are you still acting from your fears and all your different limitations and thinking that your mind is probably clinging to? Because again, it has all this evidence that the way you think is true, and it fights for all the fucked up ways of doing things, and it makes a great argument why you have to basically keep being the same as you are. And then again, we're left like scratching our heads like, well, where's my stuff? I know this, I know that, I know. And we say that, you'll hear yourself saying, you'll use that word a lot, I know. Yes, I know this, I know that. Yeah, you can know something, but it doesn't mean you're doing anything with the information. And this is what happens a lot with energy work type stuff. You know, we get very into like, we learn all this stuff and that's wonderful, right? We need to start somewhere. We need to learn this new information. But beyond intellectual understanding and acceptance, this information, we're not doing anything with it in our lives if we're being honest with ourselves. And again, how you move through the world every day, everything human you does is being motivated by something inside of you. Your beliefs, your feelings, how you view yourself, that's what's informing all of your life, right? So you see, when you start looking at how you're conducting yourself in your day-to-day life, the space from which you're making your decisions, and all of these things, how you're responding to the situations in your life that are maybe not so ideal for you, you see your energy really hasn't changed. This knowledge, what you know, hasn't really trickled down to any deeper level beyond just taking it in with your brain and maybe intellectually accepting it and intellectually understanding, okay, this is how it works, this is how I should feel, this is what I should do. But then the things the should feel, should do, right, we're not doing, nothing's happening in that space. You're still, you know, very fearful about money, and you have all this intellectual understanding of abundance and unlimited abundance and all this stuff. But then if you look at your relationship with money day to day, Are you relating to money any differently? Do you interact with money any differently? Probably not, right? You still try to hoard it. You have the scarcity mindset. You're still worried about it. You're still resentful of having to spend it and all these things. And that's showing you your energy around money, right? It's still not any different. You want to try to expand your business and get higher. Let's say you're some kind of freelancer or something, and you want to try to get higher paying work, but you're still motivated by a deep fear of running out of money. So you're still taking the really shitty, low paying jobs where people are severely undervaluing your service and just paying you way less, right, than you should be being paid, right? But again, the fear is still there. So instead of turning down those jobs with faith that you'll manifest the higher paying jobs, or faith that you'll connect with more abundant minded people that recognize the quality of your service and that they're willing to pay more, you're still, when you have to give your own rates, you're still giving the really low rates because you're afraid if you charge too high, you'll lose the business, right? So then you see the way you're acting with the business, still taking all the low paying jobs, not wanting to raise your rates, and still trying to lowball, so hopefully you're the lowest price person and they'll pick you, so at least you get some money. You see, like, that's not a very abundant way of acting, right? So you see what energy is informing, what energy is still dominant within you. So this is one of those things where it's not always easy, but we have to be honest about what's happening inside, because if our inside's creating the outside, if we can't honestly assess what's happening in here, nothing's going to change in there. And if you're dealing with circumstances right now that you don't like, the energy that created them is not going to change in any way. So nothing can be different on the outside, because nothing on the inside, the level of cause, is really changing. So we have to be honest with ourselves about, I know all of this stuff, but am I being this person? Am I being a conscious creator? Am I being the person that's abundant? Am I being the person that loves themselves? Am I being the person that believes that the universe supports me? And again, you'll see your whole life is your beliefs manifest. Everything you do, you say, the space from which you make your decisions, all of these things, again, how you respond to the circumstances in your life that your mind doesn't like, that your mind wants to label as a problem, all of that is showing you what's dominant inside. And if you're still being the same person that you've always been, and you're still making your choices from the same space of fear and lack and all of these icky energies, right? Survival mode, whatever, you're not being that person. You might know, but you're not doing. And it's okay if you're doing that. You can change it at any time. But like I always say, you can't make these changes if you can't admit that something needs to be changed in the first place. So you have to be honest. This idea of the conscious creation, just personal growth in general, this is a big issue for a lot of us. We know all of this stuff. We learn about all these different subjects. We can be an expert. You could be an expert on all of this stuff, and you could know it inside out, and you could eloquently explain it to somebody else. But as far as actually living it, like letting these perspectives really inform our life in a real, meaningful, consistent way, actually acting from this space, where we might be falling very short of that. And that translating from just the knowing to the doing, for a lot of us, that's going to be a process. It's going to require us to do a lot of things that are uncomfortable, and we have to work through some stuff. We might not just overnight snap our fingers and we're this whole new person, but we have to honestly assess, are we at least giving it a good effort? Are we at least really trying to do it? It's okay if you're not perfect at it, that's not required. But if a lot of us are honest, we're not really trying. We just know. We're taking in all of this information, and because we understand it all intellectually, kind of what I talked about yesterday, our mind kind of tricks us into thinking we've actually changed because we know I know that now. What you know doesn't mean shit in the world of energy. Your energy isn't based on knowing. It's based on feeling. And how do you feel? Do you really believe these things to be true? Again, your life is your beliefs manifest. So how are you acting? Your belief system, your predominant thoughts, feelings, focus, predominant view of yourself, that's informing everything you do when you wake up every day. How are you acting? Have you changed in any real way? Are you still acting from the same energies? And again, it can be a hard pill to swallow when we realize, I'm actually not really doing anything with this information. I'm really not any different if I'm honest with myself. I'm still entrenched in bone deep fear about my finances. My relationship with money has not changed in any way. My view of myself, if I'm honest, it hasn't changed in any way. I'm still doing things from a space of trying to manipulate and control everything. I have zero faith and trust in this process, if I'm honest with myself. And again, it can be hard to admit these things. Your mind thinks denying it somehow means that eventually the problem will take care of itself and you'll eventually become the person you want to be without having to put any effort into it internally. The denial will not help you. It's not going to magically make these things go away. It's not going to magically change eventually without your conscious participation in some way. So yeah, it's hard sometimes to admit this stuff because again, we know so much, we can really trick ourselves into thinking we've changed a lot more than we actually have. And again, it's okay if we haven't. It's okay. You can turn it around at any moment. The only thing that will stop you from making these changes is yourself. Because only you can decide how you think and feel. Only you can decide if you're going to still cling to shitty feeling stuff because your mind thinks it's true, because of all your life experience, or it presents these wonderful arguments for why you have to keep doing things in this really painful, fucked up way. Or you decide, okay, you have no idea what you're talking about. All of this stuff that's causing me this pain, I'm going to let it go. I'm not going to let it rule my life anymore. It's always up to you completely. So anything happening, you can change it. You'll never be stuck. The only way you'll get stuck in the energy you don't like is if you just decide that you're not going to feel better till things turn around externally and gives you a reason to feel better, gives you permission to feel better, or you wait around to have the universe take care of everything for you, and again, you get to just sit back and not have to participate in the process at all. That's the only way you'll get stuck. It will be of your own doing. It'll always be of our own doing no matter what. That's a good thing. Again, hard pill to swallow that it's our responsibility to take care of it all. It's a giant pain in the ass, I won't lie. But it just is what it is. Us fighting it will never make it untrue. Us resisting it will never be able to. Your mind thinks if it keeps fighting for its way, somehow that will invalidate these other ways of doing things because it doesn't like it. So if it fights against it enough, it'll just make it untrue. And you can do the things your way your mind wants to keep doing them. You could still be acting from fear, but somehow manifest all these amazing experiences that you can only manifest from the energy of trust. But your mind somehow thinks you could still remain in the energy of fear, but then manifest all of these things again without you having to change yourself at all. And you'll be the recipient. You can't be the recipient of this way of operating if energetically you're not aligned with it. The universe can't help you if you're not a match to the help. Remember, the universe cannot defy your vibration. It's not responding to your want, your need, your dissatisfaction with what's happening now. None of that. It can't look at you and see how hard you're trying to get your stuff and throw you a bone because you're trying really hard. The actual process of attraction is very neutral, clinical, mechanical, disinterested, dispassionate, right? It's just input, output. There's no judgment in this process. None of that is happening. The universe isn't deciding what's best for you. It wants to give you this, and nothing of the sort is happening. It's just you're putting an energy out there and you're receiving something back. Good and bad, everything is just neutral feedback of your energy. So you have to understand that if your energy is not changing, all of these things you want to happen, they just can't happen. And it's not because you're being punished for your negativity or because you're not trying hard enough to change your energy, and so you're not going to get what you want because you don't deserve it. It's just that if your energy is not changing, your reality really can't change. Nothing will ever make that untrue, and your mind could fight for your negativity and fight for all your bullshit and why you get to feel that way. And you can listen to it. You're an adult. You can do whatever you want. You get to think however you want. You get to feel however you want. You get to view your circumstances any way you want. That's your total prerogative, right? You have total control over that. But if you are interested in creating a different reality by way of managing your energy, you see if you're going to let your mind keep fighting for all the bullshit and all the pain and suffering and clinging to all the pain and shitty beliefs, and I'm not going to feel better till something changes, or I'm not going to have faith in this teaching, and I'm not going to have faith in this process until I manifest evidence that it works that way. If the energy comes first and then the manifestations, you realize it can't work that way. If you insist on you keep doing things the hard way, you can't manifest the easy way because you're not a match to it. If you're going to cling to your ex-boyfriend and try to get him back until the universe brings you along a better option and proves that there's someone out there that's better for you, you can't manifest the person that's better for you because you're totally closed off to that person because you're clinging to the person that's not the good match for you. But your mind wants to manifest from pain minimization, and it's happy to settle for anybody that will take you back, right? So you see, again, what we know, it doesn't matter what you know. You have to live it. You have to be it. And if you're not going to live it and be it, then that means you probably don't really believe that's how things work. And then if you don't believe that's how it works, then you can't manifest a reality in line with all of that, because you can't be the recipient of all these beneficial beliefs and ways of looking at the world and looking at yourself if you actually don't believe it yourself. And if your being is really not changing, then your energies hasn't really changed at all. You really haven't embraced these things in any real way, because if you have, you would be conducting yourself differently in your life, right? You'd be acting from the faith and trust, not the fear. You wouldn't keep taking the low paying jobs because you're afraid of running out of money. You would hold out for the better paying job. You wouldn't be afraid to raise your rates and charge what your services are truly worth, instead of lowballing, hoping that you're the lowest offer and then they pick you, so at least you have some money coming in. You don't cling to the things that aren't working and then closing off the better opportunities because you're trying to force something that's actually not in alignment and not actually the best representation of what you want, right? You see, because how the mind works is, right, the mind wants you to keep operating just as you are until you manifest proof that all of these things are true, and then it might let you change how you behave. But again, right, if the energy comes first, then the manifestations. We can't manifest this different way of being. We can't manifest the easy way. We can't manifest all these wonderful things because our energy is not a match to them. And the mind doesn't really understand that. Your mind makes a great case for like clinging to the pain, insisting on being exactly who you are now, staying exactly as you are now, doing things exactly the way you're doing them now. And then if you get some proof that there's something to it, then you can try that. But it can't happen, right? Again, because you're not a match to these alternative ways of being and alternative ways of getting what you want in your life, these easier, more pleasant ways. So it can't happen for you. Again, the mind doesn't understand what's really going on. And it's fighting for you to stay the same, but then expecting your life to change. To your mind, that's a great approach. It makes sense. Your mind thinks this is going to work somehow, but it really isn't. So one of the first things you need to do with this work is, you're taking in all this information. Yeah, that's great. That's wonderful. What are you doing with this information? Is it actually influencing how you act in any way? Is it influencing how you feel in any way? What energy is informing everything that human you is doing? And if you take a look and see everything you're doing, why are you doing what you're doing? The decisions you're making, why are you making the decisions you're making? When you're doing things that feel bad, why are you doing things that feel bad when you can do the thing that feels good, right? Something energetically is influencing all of that. So that's how you see if your energy's changing. A lot of people, again, so many people ask me, how can I tell if my energy's changing? Are you changing? Are you any different? If you're any different, then yeah, your energy's changing. If you're not any different, then your energy is probably not changing very much, because what's motivating your actions, if it was different, then you'd be acting differently. You'd be making different decisions. You'd be moving through the world differently. You'd be looking at the circumstances in your life that you don't like. You'd be looking at them differently in a way where they're not the big problem your mind thinks they are. You just see them for feedback, all this stuff, right? So this is one of those things where, again, it could be hard to do this work. It could be hard to really be honest with ourselves. Because again, it could be a hard pill to swallow to think that you've been a conscious creator for 3 years and you've been learning the law of attraction inside out, but then you realize that this information in any practical way, you haven't really done much with it at all. You really haven't changed in any way. And then you start to see why all your stuff hasn't shown up. It's like, oh, I'm not any different. Of course my stuff can't show up. My energy hasn't changed at all. I'm still just as fearful around money. I don't have much trust in this process, if I'm honest with myself. I'm still trying to make everything happen through bad feeling action. I'm still all about controlling and manipulating circumstances just the way my mind wants them to be. I'm not open. I cling to the specific things my mind wants, convinced that's the best representation, and it can be this, nothing else. I will only take this person, this thing, this, that, this, whatever. Oh my God. And all this anxiety you have about, well, why is nothing changing? Am I doing something wrong? No, you're not doing anything wrong. It's nothing about action. You just haven't changed in any way because you haven't really taken this information in. You've taken it in and you know it, but does it actually influence your behavior and influence how you move through the world? Oh yeah, no, I'm still acting from fear and control and manipulation and this and that. And then this big mystery is salt very quickly. And again, that you've been doing it, not a problem. You can change it at any moment, but you can only change it if you can be honest about, am I really living this way? Am I living conscious creation? Am I living all these universal laws, all this wonderful spiritual wisdom? Am I actually living it? Is it informing my being and informing how I move through the world? And a lot of people, again, will be like, yeah, not really. I'm still kind of acting in the way I was acting before. This information, it's maybe influenced my life a little bit. I do some things here and there. I'm maybe a little different, but like really like dominant, it's the predominant energy influencing your life, will be like, oh yeah, no, not even close. And again, that's okay, as long as you can be honest about it. So to really reap the benefit of the law of attraction and all this wonderful spiritual wisdom and these universal laws and all this wonderful stuff, right? This stuff that feels so good to believe is true because it is true. That's why it feels good. Hi, Jennifer. I hope you're enjoying the video. We have to live it because, again, if we're not living from that space, it means that we really don't believe it. Because if we believed it, we would live from that space, right? So we have to work through, why am I resisting these laws, these spiritual truth, whatever, like, why am I still doing things the other way? What's happening there? Why am I not living from this space? Why don't I have trust? Why don't I have this faith? Why am I still trying to control and manipulate everything? Why am I still operating in this way that's very painful for me? And when I could be operating in this other way that's much less painful and will make me enjoy the journey, which all we have anyway. I'll enjoy myself more when it's right. We see like the way the mind wants to do everything and the way the mind insists that we keep acting, it just causes us more pain. And we're weird that way, right? We have some fucked up stuff we have to work through. And again, the fucked up stuff's not the problem. It'll only be a problem if we decide that we don't want to deal with it once we start getting more aware of what's happening in our head. But yeah, but are you doing? All this spiritual wisdom, all this wonderful stuff that you're learning about that feels so good and can change your life in so many amazing ways. Do you actually believe these things enough to like actually let them inform everything that human you does? Or is it still more like intellectual understanding? Yeah, I kind of get it, but I still kind of want to do things this other way because that's how my mind wants to do it. Yeah, I believe all this, but I'll believe it more when I get more evidence of it. Then maybe I'll consider it more. But again, if the energy comes first and then the manifestations, all this evidence your mind is waiting for to give you permission to start living this way, it's impossible to manifest it because you're not a match to it. It's like, I remember I read once, I can't remember where I read it. It was like, if you look in a mirror and you say you're not going to smile till your reflection smiles back, right? It can't happen because you're the person, and the reflection in the mirror is like, you have to go first and then you see it reflected back to you. So that's what our mind, and a lot of times this is what our mind is doing. We're waiting for this proof to really go all in with living this way. But again, you can't manifest the proof because you're not a match to this evidence that your mind is looking for. Again, you can't manifest the easy way when you insist on doing things the hard way. You can't let in the best match of what you want if you're still clinging to certain things in your reality already that's right in front of your face or that's already happened and insisting, well, it has to be this or it has to be that. You can't manifest the perfect match for you when you're still clinging to your ex or the other guy that is not interested in you or rejected you, or the relationship that didn't work out, or the unrequited, all that, right? And the mind doesn't understand that you can't manifest this stuff because you're not in the energy to receive it, because the mind doesn't understand how energy works. So you're knowing, but are you doing? And if you're not doing, again, it's okay. Just admit that you're not doing, and admit that you might not have, these things have not trickled down deeply enough into your being that they're influencing your behavior as much as maybe ideally they should be. You can change all of that at any time, but you have to be honest about it. If you just keep pretending you feel a certain way, you don't feel, and you're in total denial about how these beliefs is not influencing your outside life in any way, and there's no momentum there, and it's just knowledge and nothing more than information in your head, your mind, that's what your mind's going to want to do, because again, your mind thinks denying this takes care of the problem, and eventually it'll all sort itself out, and then you don't have to do anything about it. But that's not going to happen, because all the shit now we created that with our stories and all this stuff and our conditioning. We can undo it all, but we can only do that if we can honestly say, yeah, like, I know a lot of stuff. I'm an expert on the law of attraction, but if I'm honest, these beliefs, they have very little influence over how I conduct myself in my day-to-day life. I still really am not living it. And again, that's okay. Just be able to admit it. So it kind of ties into my video yesterday about intellectual versus emotional understanding. If we try to do all this from our mind and we think just taking in this information and knowing it intellectually somehow translates to all this change, it doesn't guarantee any sort of change internally. It doesn't guarantee that we're automatically just going to start behaving differently just because now we know these things. There's a conscious effort involved in that. And there's a conscious attention to our energy that's required of us. And the mind doesn't want to let us go there. And if we keep listening to it, you can do that, it's fine. But you have to understand, if you believe your inner world creates your outer experience, but then you don't want to pay any attention to what's happening inside, you see the problem with that. You can't change the energy because you're not tending to it in any real way. So yeah, just always keep in mind about that stuff. You know, that's great. Make sure this stuff is actually informing your life in meaningful ways. And this is a predominant energy from which you're acting from, the predominant energy that's informing your choices, your habits, your behaviors, how you respond to the challenging situations in your life, because that shows you what your energy is, how you're conducting yourself in your day-to-day life. So pay attention to all of that, because that's a window into your energy, because again, that's informing everything human you is doing. So if for any of you that are feeling confused about your energy, is my energy changing, or is this or that changing? Is my vibe around money changing? Is my vibe around love changing? Is my vibe around my body changing, or this thing or that thing? When you get up every day, what's the space you're operating from? And that shows you where your energy is. And then this big mystery, this thing that's a great source of anxiety for people, you see it's a very simple assessment actually. But again, if you're honest, honesty will be your best friend as a conscious creator, because again, when you realize the process of attraction is neutral, your energy is, whatever your energy is, that's what you're going to get back in life. That's what's going to be mirrored back to you in your experience. So you see, denying it doesn't do you any good. How much you want something, you need it, how upset you are without it. The universe, not of any consequence, that's not being taken into account at all. So you see, if you can be honest about how you're feeling, you'll always be able to make the changes you need to make, and you'll always be moving towards the better things in life. You'll always be moving towards this person that you say you want to become. You have no choice but to do it, because you're honestly assessing what's happening inside. And when you're honestly assessing what's happening inside, you'll be able to make the changes you need to make, and nothing can stop you. But again, you have to be honest with all of these things. And again, it can be a hard pill to swallow sometimes. It's not easy to admit sometimes that, like, oh yeah, I'm not any different. I'm kind of bullshitting myself. I'm full of shit when I say I believe this and I believe that. I'm just a big gigantic liar. It's okay. We all have that. That's something we all go through with this, and it's something we're always going to be having to be working on. But yeah, just make sure that you're not tricking yourself into thinking you're changing just because of everything you know. If you're wondering if your energy is changing, look at how you're living your life. That's your energy. That's your beliefs manifest. Everything that you do is being informed by your predominant views of yourself, your predominant belief system, your predominant thoughts, and your predominant feelings. So this big mystery, it's not a big mystery at all. Are you living it? Because to see the real changes in your life, you can't just know it. You have to live it. You have to be it. You have to do it. That's a process. It's not always easy, but with a little faith and trust, you'll be fine. You keep moving along. You make these changes. All of these ways of being, they become more second nature. They become more natural. And in the beginning, when you feel like you're really trying to be this way, and you're kind of fighting against your natural tendencies that are maybe not serving you, it's not always going to be that way. So what happens a lot of times is in the beginning it feels that way, and that feels hard and it feels frustrating, and it makes us want to give up because we think it's always going to be this struggle against all of our shit. But it's not like that. As you work on it, the shit gets in the way less, there's less shit there, and again, this other energy becomes dominant, it gains momentum, and it becomes, this way of being and thinking becomes more natural, and it becomes more second nature. So don't pull back from this work thinking it's always going to be this big struggle against all your old programming. That's not how it is. In the beginning it could feel that way, or when you have a situation that triggers a lot of emotion, it can feel that way, but generally over the long term, that's not is that's not how it's going to be. So don't pull away because you think that is how it's always going to be. That's not true. It gets easier over time because you change your relationship to all of it. It doesn't get in the way as much. It doesn't get as, you don't get as emotionally invested in your mind chatter over. So it does get easier in that sense. But sometimes there'll be certain patches where it is harder, especially in the beginning, or again, if you're dealing with something that triggered a lot of emotion, a more of an acute situation, right? But generally speaking, it's not as hard as it seems. And yeah, just as long as you can be honest and know that to really see these changes in your life, you can't just know this stuff. You have to live it. You have to let it inform human you, this journey, right? So yeah, that's it, guys. I'm gonna go. Just a quick announcement. My Wanting Without Needing call series. I actually kept registration open. It started 2 weeks ago, so we're into the second. We're going to be going into the third class this week. But registration is still open. So if you were interested in signing up, you'd obviously get access to the previous classes and all of that stuff. So you can head over to livelifemadetorder.com. You'll see a link in the menu to register for it. It's pay what you choose pricing, so you pay whatever you can afford to pay, so no one has to miss out because of money. It's been a really good series. I've been getting a lot of really good feedback on it. Yeah, Wanting Without Needing. The title's pretty self-explanatory. The need in this journey of changing our life, and in law of attraction in particular, if the need is driving it, it's just like super painful, and it doesn't have to be that way. So if you want to want and make positive change in your life without feeling like you need it and having this need and all this pain driving all of this desire for change, I think you'll find the content very helpful. Yeah, that's it. Have a good day or night. Happy manifesting. Bye-bye.